What is good, producers? Today we are back for Content ID Part 2, when you should and when you should not use Content ID to claim your beats, and how you can use Content ID to claim your beats in the best way possible, in my personal opinion. So let's talk about it. Alright, so if you guys watched the video yesterday, you will know that I gave a scenario of when two producers use the same loop from a loop pack, and then in a scenario where one producer will go out and claim Content ID on content they do not exclusively own. And then so ironically, of course, the day after I make this video, I go ahead and I'm start making like some DaBaby type beats because he's releasing the deluxe version of his album. So I figured why not make some type beats just to get some people who are looking up that search term and whatnot. So I figured why not just go ahead and look up some DaBaby sample packs on YouTube and use some. So then I used one, and to my knowledge, the last one I made, I was like, all right, you know, I have enough uploads for the week now, I'm good. The last one I upload, it gets Content ID claim. So I'm not gonna like say who claimed it or whatnot, but I'm gonna show you guys the issue of what producers are doing when it comes to Content IDing their beat. Shout out DJ Payne. He made a very good video on explaining Content ID, and honestly, if you need like more videos of like the legalities of leasing beats and Content ID and a whole bunch of other shit, go watch his videos. His videos are great. But in the one video, I believe he didn't emphasize that your content needs to be exclusively owned by you. You can't use samples, you can't use loops that you don't exclusively own, because guess what? Those loops are gonna be given out to other producers, or they can be given out to other producers. So when you claim Content ID on that, it can be the exact same situation of where another producer who used that free loop that they have access to, that isn't exclusive, right? Anybody can use it. They're gonna get hit with your Content ID claim. I actually got Content ID claimed by a network called EXMGE Music. What I want to explain to you guys here is that you can't hate on the network, and I'll show you why you can't hate on the network, why this can't be blamed on the network, is because the way they have things set up is, if you look here, if third parties uploading your exclusively owned audio, visual, or visual content for YouTube, which is eligible for fingerprint matching Content ID. You guys need to understand, this says if third parties are uploading your exclusively owned content. So here's what a lot of producers do, and here's what DJ Payne said in the video, which I wish he would have emphasized more, is that, yeah, if you make a beat by scratch and you upload it to YouTube and you sell it, and you want to keep track of that and see like who's using your beat and who's, you know, potentially stealing it, or, you know, keep track of everything, it's great. As a producer who made that loop himself, right, and you didn't give away to anybody, you're the only producer using that loop. And if somebody comes along and another producer uses that loop somehow, it's odds are because they literally sampled you, right? If you're not giving away that loop in a loop pack, or you're not, you know, giving it away in a sample pack or whatnot for a free download, for, you know, a purchase or whatnot, if you still own the exclusive rights to that content and you're not giving it away anywhere else, that means that in order for another producer to have used that sample or get your loop, they had to YouTube to MP3 it themselves and then put it in their beat, which does go against your copyright. Also, if you do make the loop and sell it and give it away to people in a loop pack or whatnot, you're not giving them the exclusive rights. That's all that matters, right? Whether or not they downloaded it from a beat you have on YouTube, or you actually gave it away in a pack, if they claim Content ID on something that you exclusively own, that's the major issue here. So I think Content ID in that way is very good when you exclusively own it, because then at that point, odds are it's gonna be very rare that a producer comes along, here's your beat, and YouTube to MP3s it just to get your sample out of like the loops. You know what? It's gonna be a rare thing. I don't know how many times have you guys heard a beat. You know, how many times have you guys heard a beat on YouTube from a type beat producer and went ahead and went like, I want to YouTube to MP3 that just to get the intro melody out. Like that's not a thing. This is very helpful in the terms of, I made the loop, I made the sample, blah blah blah, and then I want to keep track of which artists are using it. And yes, you can go ahead and actually basically quote unquote whitelist these claims, which means like you can let people, which basically means that you can let somebody else's content pass through and not get claimed, or you can remove the claim from that. That is possible to do. Right, so as the Content ID owner in that situation, you can be like, hey, this person actually does have a lease to this. They can actually use that to monetize it and whatnot, so remove the claim from that video. So that is something that can be done. But once more, it's just Content ID is abused by producers in the sense of it's not content that they exclusively own. Basically, what I want you guys to understand is that Content ID is great in the sense of, yeah, you can keep track of your beats, But what happens is when you use a sample or a loop that you don't exclusively own yourself, that is against the YouTube Content ID claims. And listen, if you were to ever get into any real legal situation, also not a lawyer, this isn't legal advice, but I would imagine here is just how based off things work in the real world. They're gonna say, hey, in our website for EXGME Music, it says you need to exclusively own that content to Content ID it. You don't exclusively own that. That's your fault, not our fault. Don't come to us. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, just don't Content ID your beats if you don't exclusively own the audio samples used in them. And it's easy as that. If you do, if you made everything from scratch yourself, then boom, go ahead, use Content ID. I have no clue. I didn't make an outro for this video. I just said I'm done recording. So yeah, if you own the exclusive rights to the audio samples or you made them from scratch yourself, then go ahead, use Content ID. But if it's something you got off Looperman or a loop pack on YouTube, or if you purchased a loop kit, that doesn't mean you own the exclusive rights, right? If you purchased a loop kit from like Producer Grind or something, you don't own the exclusive rights to that. It's available to thousands of hundreds of other people, so you don't own the exclusive rights to that either. So just because you paid 15 bucks for a loop kit doesn't mean that you can Content ID it now because you paid for it. No. All right, you have to understand how all that stuff works. Always read the contracts, know your contracts, and I'll see you guys in the next one.